Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari, Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe. Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari, Radha Kunj Bihari Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva Mayi Subhadra. Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Bala Gopal, Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Jai Hari Nam Sankirtana ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Pashrata Deshatarine, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, everyone. Everyone is very generous today. They have left the front seats open for others. Very kind. So, we'll discuss today the 29th verse of this most wonderful chapter, the 9th chapter, entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. So in this section of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining the glories of bhakti. And what is bhakti?
Devotional service.
Devotional service. And devotional service to?
Lord Krishna.
To Lord Krishna. That is bhakti. Bhakti is activity that is an expression of our love to Krishna. Activity that is an expression of our love to Krishna. That is bhakti. That is the meaning of devotional service. Service rendered to express our devotion. That is why Prabhupada translates the word bhakti as devotional service. So, in this section of Bhagavad Gita, these 7 verses, Krishna is glorifying the sweetness and the potency of bhakti. As we know, there are different yoga paths, but the ultimate activity, the ultimate yoga is Bhakti yoga. Right? So we may wonder, why is that the case? Right? So Krishna has said at the end of the 6th chapter that the bhakti yogi is the highest of all. But now, why is bhakti so superior to all other practices? Krishna is explaining. So, in the 26th verse, Krishna said that to do bhakti, to perform bhakti, one need only to offer a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or a cup of water. And we said last time, Krishna does not put a high barrier, high requirements to enter bhakti, right? To enter, some top university. There's a high barrier. Much qualification is required to enter, right? To enter into some parliament building. Much qualification is required. But to render bhakti, devotion to Krishna, one needs the qualification up to being able to acquire a leaf. Anybody is unable to acquire a leaf, a piece of fruit, a flower, or even a cup of water. So Krishna is making bhakti accessible to anyone and everyone who has a desire. Because he says, when you offer him the leaf, the fruit, the flower, water, what must come with it? What is the key ingredient in that offering to Krishna?
Love.
Love. Yo me bhaktya priyah. He says, bhakti. One must offer with love and devotion. That is the only requirement Krishna has. So Krishna is seeking our love. And love means that there is a personal relationship. There is a two-way street. There is a reciprocal relationship, right? You cannot love something inanimate for extended periods of time because there's no reciprocation. Love exists between two people. That is the definition of love. And the greatest love we can at least conceptually know is between us and Krishna. Why? Because we are part and parcel of Krishna. We come from Krishna. So our natural position, our natural tendency to love and to want to love is fulfilled when we connect that love with our eternal Father. That is when love is perfected. So he says that you offer me these things with love and devotion. But in the very next verse, in the 27th verse, if we're not yet ready to work and to render, love means that you do what the other wants, right? That is love. Not I do what I want and then say it's love, right? If you love somebody and you want to bake them a cake, you don't bake them the cake that you want to eat. You bake them the cake that they want. Just in simple terms, right? So, love means we work according to what that person we are trying to love wants. And that is the pure, highest consciousness of bhakti. Which means I have no desires of what I want to do for Krishna. I only want to do what pleases Krishna. So that's a very high standard. Because one has to surrender all their own desires. Right? One has to give up, I want to do this, I want to do that. So then if we cannot reach that standard, are we stuck? No. Krishna says, Yat koroshi, yat asnashti. Whatever you do, yat tapasya, whatever tapasya you do, whatever work you do, whatever you do it for me. So Krishna says, okay, if you want to make a cake that you like, no problem. You make the cake that you like, but you still offer it to me. So he says, if you're not yet ready, no problem. That is the magnanimity of Krishna. He's giving us many different levels at which we can begin. The goal is to have pure love, but we have to get there. So Krishna says, if you're not yet ready to renounce all your own desires, no problem. But do everything you do as an offering to me. And in the 28th verse, Krishna explains now what is the result of doing that. Right? We'll only offer everything to Krishna if, what is the condition we'll put for us to offer everything to Krishna? We get something out of it. If we benefit from it, if it is good for us, right? That is the condition. That we must benefit from it. So when Krishna says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, you do it for me, it sounds as though Krishna benefits and maybe we lose out. Does it not? At first, it sounds. Right? Whatever you do, we have to give it to Krishna. But Krishna in the next verse is saying, no, who is the beneficiary of that activity? It is us. Why? Because by offering everything to Krishna, one no longer has to suffer the reactions of all the different activities we do. No longer has to take all the reactions. And one can, Krishna says, come to me. Go back to the spiritual world where there is no birth, death, no old age, no disease, no mental illnesses, no physical illnesses, no conflicts between anybody, no natural disturbances. None of these things exist. So by offering things to Krishna, that is the return that Krishna is giving. And in the purport here, Prabhupada is speaking that the soul is active. By nature, it is active. So when we say do everything for Krishna, renounce everything for ourselves, it doesn't mean that we don't engage in the world around us. It doesn't mean that, okay, now I have to give up everything and go to the forest and try to live a life of renunciation. No. Prabhupada is explaining that renunciation means that we use all the facilities we have, everything we have, but we use it with Krishna, not for ourselves. And the benefit, we already said why. One no longer has to take all the sufferings from all of our activities. And the logic of why is because Krishna, He is the source of everything. He has given us everything in the first place. So is He not the rightful enjoyer of anything that we are creating anyways? Yeah, He is the rightful enjoyer. So this renunciation, this yukta vairagya, it means that we use our profession, we use our family life, we use our home, our possessions. Krishna doesn't say you have to give them up. No. He says you use them in service with me, in loving service with me. Now how to do that? That is the practical applications of bhakti that we require some guidance. The principles are given here. How to do that, how to practically do that, that is where Guru comes into our life and guides us on how to apply that. How do I know that my cell phone, I'm using it in service of Krishna instead of just enjoying my senses? Right? Sometimes it's hard to decipher. And that is where Guru comes into our life and helps guide us on the finer details of how to apply this principle. But the principle is clear. Everything is Krishna's anyways. We should use it in His service. And by doing so, we become free from all the reactions of our work. So the highest level again, do what Krishna enjoys. Make the cake that He wants. That's pure love. But if we're not ready yet, okay, make the cake you want. But enjoy it with Krishna. Don't enjoy it on your own. And by doing so, one can achieve eternal peace and happiness. Now this 29th verse is an extraordinary verse Krishna has said, an extraordinary statement Krishna is making about His relationship with His devotee. It is extraordinarily profound how deep this relationship exists between us and Krishna. And sometimes when we speak of God, we speak of Krishna, we think of some powerful being that is very distant from us. That is some, high up, very far away. But the relationship is not very personal, one-on-one, intimate. Right? So let's see how personal the relationship is in bhakti with Krishna. Okay? So, someone wants to read the verse? Yeah, you can read the English. Go ahead.
I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Purport. One may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone, and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination. It is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity, in whatever form, is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives special attention, or specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. The very phrase, Krishna conscious, suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists, situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, mayi, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words, ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajanti aham. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotees are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold, and the Lord is a diamond. And so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. In a reciprocal relationship, it is not present between the devotee. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Lord and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here, the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world, there where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate.
So just a verse again. Krishna is saying, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I also a friend to him. This purport Srila Prabhupada presents, it's almost too deep. It's so exquisite that this relationship with Krishna is so sweet. It's almost hard to imagine. But by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, he is presenting it to us in a very simple to digest way. So we know, or we understand, at least in concept, that we have a very personal relationship with Krishna. Now, in the material world, our relationships that we experience have very many limitations. Because if I have a relationship with somebody, that person, he or she is limited. How so? Limited by how they can reciprocate back with me. Simple example, that if I have a relationship with somebody, and that person has a relationship with somebody else as well, a friendship. If my friend here is engaged in a relationship, engaged in some activity with somebody else, then I am left out. So my relationship with this person is limited by that person's time. Because if they are with somebody else, then they cannot be with me. Anybody has been in that experience before? We all have, right? And the relationships become strained because that person is limited. We know that people can only have so many friends, so many relationships they can maintain, right? Oh, I forgot to call this person. I just didn't have time to wish them happy birthday or to wish them happy anniversary. Why? Because we are limited in our ability to reciprocate with everyone, right? So we're limited in our time. Reciprocation in a relationship is based on knowledge, right? If I want to show some favor to somebody, I must understand what it is that will please them, right? I have to know what will please them. So I should understand what is in their mind, what their likes are, dislikes are, maybe what their current mood is. And so in friendships, we have some understanding based on our history, right? Of how I can please that person in my reciprocation. And it's based on my knowledge. Right? If you go to the mall and you see somebody, do you know how to reciprocate with them? Not so much. Sure, if you give them $100, they'll be happy. But you don't really know how to, because you don't know them. Right? So our ability to reciprocate is limited by our knowledge. If I am going and doing something for somebody, but in their mind they're going through so many other problems and another action would have been more pleasing, I haven't perfectly reciprocated with them, right? Because I don't know what's going on in their mind, in their heart. I didn't know what happened to them all day long. So my relationships are limited by time, by my knowledge, what I know, right? It's also limited by my abilities. Maybe this person needs or wants something that I can't provide. I don't have the resources or ability. Maybe this person would like to hear a joke, and I am not such a humorous person. So my ability to reciprocate with this person is limited by my ability. So limited by my time, my knowledge, and ability. Right? Time meaning only so many relationships I can maintain. Knowledge, I don't know exactly how to reciprocate with that person. And ability, I may not be able to. I may not have the means to reciprocate. So this is the nature of our material relationships. And it makes those relationships imperfect. Anybody has a perfect relationship with anybody in this world? Sorry. No. They don't exist. Why? Because we're all imperfect. You know, two imperfects trying to have a perfect relationship. Oh, I have the perfect marriage. Nonsense. It doesn't exist. Sorry. It doesn't exist. We try, but because it's two imperfect people trying to have a perfect relationship, it doesn't work. But the relationship with Krishna, how it's perfect. Because Krishna is not limited by time. You can be his best friend. You can be, all of us can be his best friend at the same time. Because he's not limited. While he's paying attention to you, he can pay attention to you and to me and to every living entity simultaneously. Because he's unlimited. So every living entity has a very direct, personal relationship with Krishna. Because unlike all of us, he's not limited by the number of relationships. Oh, my dear, living entity, I forgot to call you on your birthday. No. He's not limited. So he's not limited by time. Krishna's ability to reciprocate with us. He knows exactly what is in our heart. What exactly is in our mind. And with such knowledge, he has the ability to reciprocate perfectly. My ability to reciprocate with somebody, I'm limited. I don't know exactly what is going on in their mind. But Krishna knows exactly. So he has complete knowledge. He's never going to run out of time. And he has perfect knowledge. And the third aspect is, he has unlimited resources. There's nothing he can't do. So when Krishna wants to reciprocate with each and every one of us, he can truly reciprocate in a perfect means. And thus the relationship between Krishna and his devotee is one of perfect love. Because that reciprocation potential is there. Is it clear? Krishna is not limited by time, knowledge, or ability. So the potential is there. But now Krishna has to say, does he actually do that though? Does he actually maintain that relationship with us? Sure, he has the ability to, but does he do it? And this is the assuring statement where he says, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I also a friend to him. He said previously, in the 22nd verse, that whatever his devotee lacks, he brings. Whatever they have, he preserves. But now he is saying, he is impartial to everybody, but he takes special interest in who? And when Krishna takes special interest in us, what is to be on the receiving end of Krishna's love? Nothing we can describe but bliss. Whatever happiness we may have received in relationships we have in the material world, we know them to be very sweet but limited. Now imagine to have a relationship with someone who has unlimited love for us, who has unlimited care for us. It is never ending. This is the power of the relationship with Krishna. Devotional service is not about some distant or relationship of fear. God is not to be feared. He is to be loved. But when we say surrender everything to Krishna, Krishna says, sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo. He says, you surrender everything. But Krishna is surrendering everything back. He's giving himself completely to his devotees. It is a two-way street. Love has to be a two-way street. So when we speak of bhakti, it is one of reciprocal relationship. So Krishna says, the devotee is in me. What does that mean? When Krishna is saying, the devotee is in me, what is he saying?
We are part and parcel of Lord Krishna.
We are part and parcel of Lord Krishna. But what does it mean when he says, is in me? Okay, listen, let's take in the prior verse of this chapter, Krishna says that
I'm always going to be by your side. Is he saying that?
he is, to some degree, yes. He says, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Wait a minute. Is Krishna contradicting himself? He says, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. And now he is saying, but to his devotee is in me. What this means is that what is in Krishna's heart? The thoughts of all of you, his devotees. That is what resides in the heart of Krishna. He is saying, all of my devotees are in me. They're in my heart. They're in my consciousness. And who is a devotee? Prabhupada says, who is a devotee? In the first paragraph, he says, okay, but he says, uses a specific word, very famous word.
Offer to him. Offer to him.
Offer to him
With love.
with love and devotion.
Even one leaf, one fruit.
Food, yeah. So that's the devotee, right? He says the devotee is someone who is Krishna conscious. What does it mean to be Krishna conscious? We say Krishna consciousness all the time. What does that mean? What is the meaning of Krishna conscious? To be conscious of Krishna. To think of Krishna 24/7. To remember Krishna. Right? That is the meaning of devotion. To always remember Krishna. Those we love, we always remember them. Right? So the devotee is constantly remembering Krishna. And who is Krishna constantly remembering? His devotees. Krishna has no other thought but how to care for his devotees. And the devotee has no other thought but how to care for Krishna. So when we say patram pushpam phalam toyam, we say, okay, oh Krishna, I have to give up all my own desires and only do what Krishna pleases. That seems a little high for me, right? Seems a little high that I only do what Krishna wants. But ye yathamam prapadyante tam satavya bhajanti. He says, to the degree of the surrender, I reciprocate. So for Krishna, what is the only thought in Krishna's mind? What is the only thought in Krishna's mind? What will please his devotee? He only does what pleases his devotee. He doesn't do what he wants to do. He is constantly performing so many activities that, do you see the selfless nature of pure love? The devotee only wants to do what pleases Krishna. Krishna is only doing what pleases his devotee. This is the sweet relationship that exists between us and Krishna. And how Krishna, we know, is only doing what we want. Prabhupada explains in his purport. In the spiritual world, there are kalpa vrikshas. What are kalpa vrikshas? Desire trees. What is a desire tree?
Whatever you desire it produces.
You go to the tree, I would like a mango. A mango comes. I would like a diamond. A diamond comes. I would like, a banana. A banana comes. Anybody has seen such a tree here in the world? When the Maharaj was giving class in Vrindavan, and he said, the closest thing to a kalpa vriksha is Amazon. But you still have to pay for that. Kalpa vriksha, there's no credit card machine. Just take. Just take. So Krishna has equipped the whole spiritual world with these kalpa vrikshas. Why? Whatever the devotee desires, he facilitates. But when the devotee is sitting under the kalpa vriksha, what is his thought? To ask for a mango? Or to ask for a diamond? What is his thought?
In service of Krishna.
In service of Krishna. How I can use this mango to please Krishna. Krishna is giving everything for our pleasure, and the devotee is taking everything and giving it for Krishna's pleasure. And when such love exists between Krishna and his devotee, then there is an experience of bliss and happiness beyond compare. Beyond compare. It is an eternal ocean of happiness. And this is the reciprocal relationship that exists with Krishna. It is not a one-way street. When Krishna says, do everything and offer to me, Krishna is offering everything to his devotees. Prabhupada says, read this last sentence of the first page. Full sentence. It's a very...
The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotee.
The Supreme Lord becomes the devotees of the devotees. Now, where you have ever seen a relationship like that? Does it exist? Anywhere but? Yes, between us and Krishna. And constantly Krishna is giving himself. As Mataji is pointing out, who is driving who? On the front page of this book, Krishna is rendering service as the driver to his devotee. Nanda Baba is asking for his shoes, and Krishna is coming and carrying the shoes on his head and bringing them to his father. The elderly gopis are asking Krishna, you dance, so they can have the sight of his beautiful dance for a little bit of buttermilk. He is like a puppet in the hands of those elderly gopis because of their love. So like this Krishna says, Prabhupada says, the Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. So this is the fruit of awakening our devotion, our love for Krishna. This extraordinarily powerful relationship that is not like any relationship we can ever experience in this world. Because we are limited by time, knowledge, and ability. But Krishna has no such. And here he gives us the assured that the only thought in Krishna's mind is what will please his devotees. What he can do to please his devotees. And the only thought in his devotees' mind is what they can do to please Krishna. So, that is the summary of this verse. There's so much detail in this verse. But one more topic I wanted to discuss. Krishna in the first part of this verse says, I envy no one nor am I partial to anyone. I'm equal to all. How is Krishna equal to all? Is he equal to everyone? Yeah. How?
Even for atheists, you can train.
Good example. Whether you are a spiritualist or an atheist, rain comes. Rain doesn't only fall on the plots of land for the spiritualists. Oh, rain comes. One good example. Any other examples? Yeah.
There's a verse about him saying that he loves equally like the dog and the dog eater. That verse.
That's coming. Yeah. Sunshine. Does it only sun? Does shine only on those who are his devotees? Air, all the resource, all the facilities of the world, he gives to everyone. Whether you are a devotee, or you have some neutral feeling of Krishna, or you don't like him. Still, Krishna never develops envy, because envy leads to hatred. We may envy Krishna, but he doesn't reciprocate that. He only reciprocates love. So if we develop envy for Krishna, he remains impartial. He still provides facilities for us to exist. That is the move. So then how come some people are suffering though? And some people are enjoying so many nice things? Isn't that Krishna being partial? No. Why not?
Karma.
Due to our karma. When one enjoys something in the material world, it is due to their karma. Which means what? What is the meaning of that? Based on our
Past lives.
Earlier performance.
earlier performances, past lives. Some activity I did previously is now generating this result. Whether it's a good result or a bad result, it is the activity that generated it, not Krishna. Krishna does not give good and bad indiscriminately. Simply the modes of nature give based on laws of karma. And the example is given of a judge. When a judge has to give punishment to somebody, is the judge accused of being mean? No. Simply rendering judgment based on the activity and the law. Based on the law and activity, a certain judgment is given. If the judge gives millions of dollars to somebody, is he considered very noble and great? No. Simply based on activity and law. So like that, Krishna is impartial. He gives based on what we do and the rules, the laws of the land. If we follow them, good things will come. If we don't follow them, bad things will come. So who is the creator of our good and bad in this material world? Ourselves. We are the creator. We may not remember past activities we've done, but who remembers? Who has perfect knowledge? Krishna does. But to get out of this ups and downs, good and bad, one must come to bhakti. By coming to devotional service, there is no good and bad. There is eternal bliss and happiness. And that is why Krishna said in the 28th verse, one becomes free from bondage. This being bound by these reactions. As soon as I do some activity that is not related to Krishna, there is some reaction coming to me. Either good or either bad. But there's some reaction. And if there is a reaction that I am due, I have to take it. So at the end of this life, if I have some reaction still to take, it means I have to come back into another body and take those reactions. But during that life, I perform new actions and thus create new reactions. And then at the end of this life, I have a couple left, many left, don't know. I have to come back. And I take those, but then I create new reactions and new activity. And how long this continues?
The karma is extended.
Yeah, it continues. Until we stop creating new.
Also extended.
Yeah. Next life, hundreds of lives.
And it's
Yeah. So the only way to stop it, bhakti. That's why Krishna says, aham tvam sarva papebhyo. He says, I will take all of your reactions. If you mamekam, unto me alone, you surrender. Sarva dharma, give up all varieties of religion. And just run, I'll take all of your reactions. Gone. Just engage in my devotional service.
Including if you have any health issues also you will take Prabhuji. Or
He gave no caveat. He says, Mataji, ma suchaha. Don't worry. Even health reactions. Ma suchaha. Don't worry. Because we have worry. What about this? What about that? So this is the sweetness of bhakti. That it brings out this relationship that is beyond compare. And when we chant the holy names of the Lord, we are beginning to engage in this very personal relationship with Krishna. The difference between us and Krishna is if I call out my friend's name, the name and the friend are different. They're not the same. Right? If I call John, it doesn't mean John is there. Because they're different. Material. Right? Just like if I chant water, 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 will my thirst be quenched? No. Because the word water is distinct from the substance water. They're not the same. Because that is material. But in spiritual realm, the name Krishna and Krishna himself are non-different. Are non-different. So when we chant the name Krishna, we are personally engaging in relationship with Krishna. He is dancing upon our tongue each time we utter the name Krishna. But maybe we don't see it or experience it. Why? Because we have to cleanse our eyes and our heart to be able to see and feel that connection with Krishna. But have no doubt, there is no difference between Krishna and his names. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Nitya sarva shaktis. He says all of his shakti, sarva shakti, all his shakti, he has put into his holy names. So to begin to experience this profound, deep, loving relationship with Krishna, the most simplest and available means for us is to chant his holy names. By chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This relationship with Krishna is unfolding, in which he has no other thought but the love of his devotees. And his devotees have no other thought but the love of Krishna. And this is this reciprocal relationship that exists in bhakti. One of the great glories of devotional service that is being explained here. Very simple to do. A leaf, a fruit, a flower, a water. And this is available. But it must come with yome bhaktya priyah, with love and devotion. And so next week, Krishna is going to say, even if you make a mistake in bhakti, no problem. Don't worry. Even if one makes a mistake in bhakti, Krishna doesn't expect perfection from us neither. He is willing to make a place in his heart for us, yet he even doesn't expect perfection. He says, but if one commits the most abominable action, he doesn't say minor mistake. He says most abominable. If he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly. So that we'll discuss next week. How to become fearless in the practice of bhakti. Because anybody has not made any mistakes. To err is human. We're going to make mistakes. Krishna doesn't expect perfection of action. We are hoping to perfect our consciousness in our heart. Okay, so that is what we'll discuss next week. Any questions or comments?
To have a strong relationship with Krishna, the best way is to chant his name or even to do puja.
So, the relationship with Krishna can be brought out. So, the relationship with Krishna is dormant within our hearts. Our natural position, the constitutional position of who we are, is to have a loving relationship with Krishna. So now the question is how to bring it out, right? So there are many different practices to bring out the relationship. Just like to go to the gym, there are different activities that can bring out a fit body, right? But when you go to the gym, there are certain processes that are more effective than others. But technically they all can work. So like that, there are different processes to bring out that relationship in bhakti. But in this age, in this era, understanding our ability, the absolute most potent process is chanting. The most potent process to bring out this relationship is chanting. The most potent process is chanting. And how do we know? Because that is what's explained in the scriptures. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, kalo nashteva, nashteva, nashteva gatirnyati. In this age of Kali, that's the current era we are in, the chanting of the holy names, the chanting of the holy names, the chanting of the holy names, 3 times it said, is the best means for deliverance. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Nashta eva, nashta eva, nashta eva. So, in this age of Kali, we can say this chanting is the most powerful means to bring about. On Sunday, we're going to speak about puja, worshipping of the deity, and how that interrelates with our chanting. How this process of deity worship, what is the relationship between that and the other processes of bhakti, primarily our chanting. And we'll read a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's actually this verse, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam. The purport Srila Prabhupada presents is very, very powerful. That explains the connection between the two. So chanting is the core. And then there are other things that we do to bring about this attraction for chanting. And doing puja is one of them. Reading books is one of them. Rendering practical service is one of them. Honoring prasad is one of them. But the core, central process is our chanting. Right? So it's a nice question. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah?
Here is a question. Why Srila Prabhupada mentions, whoever surrenders unto me proportionately, I take care of him. Does it mean Krishna's reciprocation level changes based on our level of surrender? If this is true, how a neophyte devotee who probably needs more reciprocation will get the same?
So it is not a one-to-one relationship ratio, that we take one step to Krishna, Krishna takes thousands of steps to us. But we have to take one step. And He'll take thousands of steps to us. So it is not a one-to-one reciprocation. But it is relative to our surrender. And Prabhupada is just quoting this verse from Bhagavad Gita, which says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam satayva bhajanti. So there's a reason. Krishna is going to surrender to us and reciprocate based on our mood. He is not going to force Himself upon us. He is not going to force Himself upon us. If we want and have sincerity of desire to love Him, He will facilitate that process. If we want to forget Krishna, He'll also facilitate that. If we want to be very far away from Krishna, that He'll facilitate. If we want to be very close to Krishna, that also He'll facilitate. But He's going to facilitate according to the degree of our desire. So, the neophyte condition can be overcome simply by desire. A strong desire to be close to Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate. He doesn't look at how fallen you are or how fallen I am. And that verse is coming up after the next one. When He says, even if you are a dog eater, you can become my devotee. So He doesn't say, hey, in order to become my devotee, you must first qualify. You must first purify. He says, you can be the lowest of the lowest. And you can become my devotee. So the mercy comes not in reciprocation to our qualification. It comes in reciprocation to our desire to be close to Krishna. So we don't have to worry, oh, I am so fallen, so Krishna is only going to give me a little reciprocation. No, that reciprocation is matched on the intensity of my desire. How strongly do I want to awaken this loving relationship with Krishna? Is it a passive desire? Oh, on Friday evenings, the desire is good, but by Saturday mornings, the desire is gone? Or is it something that is intensifying moment after moment? And based on that, Krishna will reciprocate. So it is independent of how qualified or unqualified we are. And that Krishna is also going to say in two coming verses. He's going to say very specifically that no matter where you are in your qualification, my mercy will come. So that's...
Prabhuji, I have one question. In Bhagavad Gita, we say like we have to offer the food to God if we come prasadam, otherwise it's sin, right? But some parts of it could be here or in India, but at least in my house I've seen some people, they don't offer and eat, right? I mean, they just eat. So what happens to them? Like, will God punish them?
There is some reactions to eating foodstuffs. Krishna says in the 3rd chapter, 13th verse, if one does not do yajna with even their foodstuffs, there is some amount of sin. Because to pluck an apple from a tree inflicts some amount of distress to that tree. If you pluck one of my, well, you can't pluck my hair, but if you could, it would cause some pain. Right? So, to become free from that, we must offer to Krishna. So yes. Now the degree of sin is based on what we're doing. If we're taking a fruit, there's much less than if we're taking an animal. Yeah, there is degrees. Just like if I steal a piece of bubble gum from the store, that has one type of reaction from the city. If I steal $100 from the bank, that has a different type of reaction from the city. And if I steal $1 million, right, there's different degrees of theft. Like that, there's different degrees of sin. They're not all equal. And it is our job to know the laws of the land. If you're driving here in Troy and you're just driving and you get pulled over and you say, oh, I didn't know that I had to use my turn signal. Will the police say, okay, you didn't know, no problem? No, still you'll get ticket. So it is our duty to understand what is the law, what is the right and wrong, and then we choose. Do we want to follow or not? It is always our choice. That is our independent, minute free will. Okay? Anything else?
No problem. Like,
Yeah.
so chanting without knowledge, how do we understand?
Chanting without knowledge. So, how does fire work without knowledge against your skin? Does fire burn whether you know about fire or not? It doesn't?
Oh yeah, equal.
It burns. Whether I know fire burns or not, it burns. Right? Chanting is like that. Whether I know what chanting is doing or not, the effect is there. So even unknowingly chanting, even they say, Krishna says, sixth canto, second chapter, first chapter, second chapter. The Krishna is not saying, but the story of Ajamil, the Vishnu Dutas are saying, that even if one jokingly chants, they become purified. So whether I know or not, doctor gives you pills, medicines. Whether you know how the medicine is affecting in your stomach and curing the disease or not, does it work? Whether you know or not? No, just take it. Right? Just take it. Like that, chanting. Whether I know or not what is happening, the effect is there. Now, of course, the more I know, then the more sincerely I'll take to the process of chanting. The more I'll understand, wow, this chanting is so powerful. Let me become sincere in my chanting, attentive in my chanting, increase the quality of my chanting. But if I have no knowledge of chanting, it still works. Just like a pill, just like fire. Okay?
When George Harrison wrote My Sweet Lord and it was playing on radios and people were singing it, were even non-devotees getting the potency?
So much. So much. Prabhupada said that there was once a movie that was made in India called Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. And it was a totally derogatory movie. Totally bogus movie. And the devotees were upset that this will give a bad name and this will, really ruin all that we are trying to do. And Prabhupada said, no harm. Why? Because in the background of the whole movie, they were playing the Mahamantra.
Exactly.
So people who are getting comedy enjoyment out of making fun of chanting were still getting benefit. So that is the power of Harinam. When we go out and we chant the holy names out on the street, those who may not just be passively accepting and receiving the holy names, they're benefited. Even if they're mildly disturbed, they're benefited. And that is why we should go and spread the holy names, not just amongst ourselves, but go out and chant. Because even the ants and birds and worms and living entities in the air, forget about humans, even the non-human living entities are benefited. And that's why Sunday we start to do our bhakti vrikshas in the park as a means to distribute. So, yeah.
Just had a question that you mentioned that in the thoughts of Krishna, it's only he thinks about devotees. I was just wondering, wouldn't he give a chance to think about the others who may be living in an ignorance and they may not have the devotee association, they may not have, by fortune, they may not have found that association, but
Yeah, he never loses anxiousness for his children to come home to him. So he always has remember, Krishna has an unlimited set of consciousness, unlike ours. But Krishna has outsourced the function of maintaining all of them. Meaning, through his expansions, through, Karanakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Shirodakshay Vishnu, and all the different expansions, they are maintaining and facilitating everyone's experience. Because Krishna has only one activity. He doesn't work. He has no job. He just enjoys with his devotees. But it doesn't mean that he loses awareness of all the living entities who are in separation from them. Because he loves all of his children, even though the love may not be back the other way. It's okay? Any other question, bro? Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nanta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai.